Look, no matter how many mistakes your mother may have made, there's no way she's in the same class as these animal mothers. Seriously, think about it. Human moms, even when they mess up, still operate on a whole different level compared to some of these wild animal moms. 1. Harp seals. Harp seals, you know, those adorable white-furred little guys you see in pictures, have a pretty intense start to life. Their mothers are incredibly dedicated, but only for a short while. For the first 12 days of their lives, these moms don't eat at all. They're entirely focused on their babies, making sure they get all the nourishment they need from their rich milk. This period is crucial for the pups because they gain a lot of weight quickly, which is essential for their survival in the harsh, icy environment they call home. But here's where things take a surprising turn. After those 12 days, the mother's job is done and she's out of there. That's right, she leaves her pup behind to fend for itself. The reason for this sudden departure? She's off to mate again. It's a harsh reality, but that's how nature works for harp seals. Unlike many other species where the young ones get a bit more time to grow and learn from their parents, harp seal pups are left on the ice, completely vulnerable. Now, imagine being just a few days old and suddenly being left alone on the ice. These pups can't survive on their own just yet. For the next month and a half, they are stranded on the ice with no one to protect them from predators like polar bears, foxes, and even large birds. During this time, the pups are incredibly vulnerable. They lose about half of their body weight because they don't eat anything. It's a tough start to life. By the time they are around 8 weeks old, these little fighters are finally ready to swim. It's only then that they start hunting for their own food. They dive into the icy waters, learning to catch fish and other sea creatures to sustain themselves. This is a critical milestone for them, but it's a challenging journey to get there. Given this rough beginning, it's not surprising that many harp seal pups don't make it through their first year. In fact, about 30% of them die within the first 12 months of their lives. It's a sad statistic, but it underscores just how tough and resilient these creatures are. The ones that do survive grow into strong, agile adults, capable of navigating the icy waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. So, when you see those cute pictures of harp seal pups, remember the incredible journey they have to endure. Their mothers give them a strong start, but it's up to the pups to survive the brutal conditions of their environment. It's a stark reminder of the harsh realities of nature and the incredible resilience of these beautiful animals. Life for a harp seal pup is far from easy, but those that make it are truly survivors. 2. Cuckoo. Let me tell you about one of the most fascinating and, some might say, infamous birds out there, the cuckoo. Now, the cuckoo is notorious for being what many would call a terrible mother, but you've got to admit, she's got a survival strategy that's both clever and ruthless. The cuckoo doesn't bother with the traditional parenting duties that other birds go through. Nope, she's all about outsourcing, folks. Here's how it works. The cuckoo lays her eggs in the nests of other unsuspecting birds. She's sneaky about it too. She finds a nest where the parents are out and then quickly lays her egg among the others. This trickery means she's free to fly around, enjoying the single bird life without the burden of raising chicks. Talk about a free spirit. But here's where it gets really interesting and a bit grim. The cuckoo chick, when it hatches, isn't just any ordinary chick. It's like the Terminator of baby birds. It hatches earlier and grows faster than the host bird's own chicks. This aggressive growth gives it a significant advantage, and unfortunately for the host family, the cuckoo chick isn't there to make friends. Quite the opposite, in fact. The cuckoo chick instinctively pushes the other eggs and chicks out of the nest. That's right, it's survival of the fittest, and the cuckoo chick makes sure it's the only one left. Now you've got to feel a bit sorry for the host birds. They've been tricked into raising a chick that's not their own, and in the process, they lose their actual offspring. It's a tough break, but it's nature's way of ensuring the survival of the cuckoo species. These host birds don't realize they've been duped, so they continue to feed and care for the cuckoo chick as if it were their own. They put in all the work, and the cuckoo reaps all the benefits. What's really amazing is how well adapted cuckoos are to this deceptive lifestyle. Female cuckoos often lay eggs that mimic the appearance of the host bird's eggs. This camouflage makes it even harder for the host birds to detect the intruder. It's like the perfect con job. honed by evolution over countless generations. The cuckoo strategy is all about efficiency and ensuring that their genes get passed on without the hard work of raising their young. The cuckoo's way of life might seem harsh to us, but it's a brilliant example of evolutionary strategy. By letting other birds do the hard work, cuckoos can focus on reproducing more and spreading their genes far and wide. It's a strategy that has allowed them to thrive in various environments across the world. 3. House sparrows. Let me tell you about the house sparrow. This bird, though small and seemingly unassuming, exhibits some of the most fascinating and, dare I say, ruthless behavior in the animal kingdom. You see, while most women would be absolutely livid if they found out their husband had cheated on them, very few would go so far as to take out their rage on any resulting offspring. It's just not in human nature, for the most part, to harm innocent children over the sins of their parents. But that's exactly what the house sparrow does, and it's a survival strategy that has evolved over time. When a female house sparrow discovers that her mate has been unfaithful, she doesn't just fume and fuss about it. No, she takes direct action. She will actively seek out the nests of other females that have mated with her partner. Once she locates these nests, she proceeds to kill the resulting chicks. It's a brutal and efficient way to ensure that her mate's resources and time are dedicated to her own offspring rather than being divided among the progeny of another female. This behavior ensures that her babies receive the full attention and care of their father, maximizing their chances of survival and success. Now, picture this scenario in a human context. Imagine finding out that your mom killed your half-brother so your dad would spend more time with you. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Yet, in the world of house sparrows, this is a common occurrence. The female sparrow is driven by an instinctual need to ensure the survival of her own genes. By eliminating the competition, she guarantees that her chicks have a better shot at thriving. But why does this happen? In the wild, resources such as food and parental care are often limited. For the female house sparrow, ensuring that her chicks have the best possible chance at survival often means resorting to such extreme measures. By killing the offspring of her mate's other partners, she reduces the number of mouths to feed and increases the likelihood that her own chicks will receive the necessary care and nourishment. It's important to note that this behavior isn't driven by malice or cruelty in the way humans might understand it. The female house sparrow doesn't kill the other chicks out of spite or jealousy. Rather, it's a calculated move, driven by instinct and the hard realities of survival in the wild. This behavior has been shaped by millions of years of evolution, honing the strategies that maximize reproductive success in a highly competitive environment. 4. Pandas. Now, everyone loves pandas, right? These big, fluffy, black and white bears are the poster children for adorable animals. We see them in videos rolling around, munching on bamboo, and just being downright cute. But, believe it or not, these seemingly cuddly creatures have a bit of a dark side when it comes to parenting. Yes, that's right. Even pandas have their flaws. You see, it's hard to think anything negative about these adorably cuddly critters, but the reality is that they're pretty negligent parents. Despite the fact that pandas often have twins, they almost never care for more than one cub. That's right, folks. When a panda mom gives birth to twins, she will make a choice that seems downright cruel to us humans. She will choose the weaker of the two babies and start ignoring him or her in favor of the stronger sibling. It's a harsh reality in the world of pandas, but there's more to the story. To be fair, it's not entirely her fault. Bamboo, which is the main diet of pandas, is notoriously low in nutrients. This makes it near impossible for a mother panda to produce enough milk to feed two cubs. The nutritional content of bamboo is so low that pandas have to spend most of their day eating just to get enough energy. So, when it comes to raising cubs, a mother panda simply doesn't have the resources to adequately care for two at once. It's a tough decision, but in the wild, it's a matter of survival. Now, let's talk about those twins again. Imagine being a panda mom and having to choose which one of your babies gets to survive. That's a heartbreaking decision no parent should have to make. But for pandas, this is a common occurrence. The mother will devote all her attention and resources to the stronger cub, ensuring that at least one of her offspring has a good chance of surviving in the tough conditions of the wild. However, there is a silver lining for those panda cubs that are born in captivity. At least the cubs abandoned in zoos are still cared for, since zookeepers don't have to worry about limited milk production, like the cub's natural mothers do. In zoos, staff can step in and provide the necessary care for both cubs, ensuring that neither is left behind. This way, both cubs have a chance to grow up healthy and strong. In the wild, it's all about survival of the fittest. The mother panda's decision to abandon one cub might seem cruel, but it's a strategy that has evolved over millions of years to maximize the chances of her genes being passed on to the next generation. The harsh reality is that nature can be brutal, and sometimes tough choices have to be made. 5. Black bears. Now, black bears, they're not just any old bears. These majestic animals usually have 2 or 3 cubs at a time. It's a beautiful thing, really, to see a mother bear with her cubs. They're like a little family, sticking together, learning the ways of the wild. But here's the thing, and it's a bit sad, when a mother black bear only has 1 cub, she sometimes makes a tough decision. It's not that she doesn't love her baby, it's just that raising only 1 cub can be incredibly challenging for her. She might feel that it's not worth all the effort to raise just 1, given the harsh conditions they often face. You see, in the wild, survival is no joke. Mother bears need to teach their cubs how to find food, avoid predators, and navigate their environment. When there's just 1 cub, the risks are high. If something happens to that cub, all her effort goes to waste. It's a tough, heartbreaking choice, but sometimes she decides to abandon the single cub. Now, this might sound cruel, but it's nature's way. The mother bear might be thinking about her own survival and future litters. By conserving her energy, she increases her chances of having more cubs in the future, which is crucial for the continuation of the species. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty details of black bear cubs. These little furballs are born in the winter, usually in January or February, while their mother is hibernating. Can you imagine that? Giving birth while you're essentially in a deep sleep? It's incredible. The cubs are tiny, blind, and completely dependent on their mother at birth. They weigh less than a pound, about the size of a can of soda. Over the next few months, they grow rapidly, nourished by their mother's milk. By the time spring rolls around, these cubs are ready to venture outside the den. It's a critical period because this is when they start learning essential survival skills. The mother bear will teach them how to climb trees, forage for food, and recognize dangers. Climbing trees is particularly important because it's one of their best defenses against predators. Black bear cubs are excellent climbers, and they often scamper up trees at the first sign of danger. As the cubs grow, the family unit remains tight. They communicate with each other through a variety of sounds and gestures. Cubs will whine or bawl when they're hungry or scared, and the mother will respond with grunts or huffs to reassure them. It's a fascinating dynamic, showing the strong bond between the mother and her cubs. But remember, the wilderness is a tough place. Predators like coyotes, wolves, and even other bears pose threats to these young cubs. The mother bear has to be constantly vigilant, always on the lookout for danger. This vigilance is another reason why raising just 1 cub can be so taxing. The mother has to divide her attention between finding food and protecting her cub, which can be overwhelming when there's only 1. 6. Black eagles. These majestic creatures, they are something else. Now, any mother with more than 1 child can tell you just how irritating those sibling squabbles can be, right? I mean, come on, we've all seen it. Kids fighting over toys, who gets the last cookie, you name it. But most parents, they know when to step in, when to say enough is enough and break it up. You gotta maintain some peace in the household, am I right? But let me tell you, things are a bit different in the world of black eagles. Now, these black eagles, they're incredible birds, really. Powerful, sleek, with that imposing presence that just screams, "Don't mess with me." They're apex predators, folks. Top of the food chain in their habitat. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of brutal, if I'm being honest. When it comes to sibling rivalry among black eagles, the stakes are sky high, literally. So, you've got this black eagle mom, right? She lays a couple of eggs, usually 2. The chicks hatch, and right from the get-go, there's this intense competition. The older chick, which usually hatches a few days before the younger one, has a serious advantage. It's bigger, stronger, and, well, a lot more aggressive. You'd think the mom would step in to keep things fair, but nope. She just watches, folks. She just lets nature take its course. And this isn't just a little pecking or pushing. Oh no. These chicks go at it with a level of ferocity that's hard to imagine. The older, stronger chick will often attack the younger one relentlessly. And here's the heartbreaking part. This fight often ends in the death of the younger chick. The mom just watches this whole brutal scene unfold without lifting a talon to intervene. Can you imagine? It's like she's saying, "Survival of the fittest, kid. If you can't hack it, you don't make it." Now, why does this happen, you might ask? Well, there's a reason behind this harshness. See, in the wild, food can be scarce. The black eagle mom is making a tough choice here. By letting the stronger chick eliminate the weaker one, she's ensuring that at least one of her offspring survives. It's nature's way of tough love, ensuring that the resources, food, care, protection, go to the chick most likely to survive and thrive. It's a hard world out there, folks, and these black eagles have adapted to ensure the survival of the fittest. But there's more to it. This behavior also helps to strengthen the surviving chick. By facing such intense early competition, the chick that makes it through becomes even stronger, more resilient. It's like nature's way of preparing them for the tough life ahead. These black eagles, they've got to be tough to survive, and this early sibling rivalry is just the start of that journey. 7. Rabbits. If you ever thought your mom didn't have enough time for you when you were young, just be glad you weren't born a bunny. Rabbit mothers, bless their hearts, they've got a tough job. Right after giving birth, they hightail it out of the burrow. Can you imagine? They only come back for a few minutes each day to feed their little ones. That's right, just a few minutes. Now, some folks might think that's neglectful, but let's dive deeper into why they do this. It's actually pretty fascinating and makes a lot of sense when you think about it. These rabbit moms are not just skipping out on their responsibilities, they've got a strategy in place. You see, by leaving the burrow almost immediately, the mother rabbit is actually doing her best to protect her babies. Predators are a real threat in the wild, and the scent of the mother can attract unwanted attention. By staying away from the burrow, she minimizes the risk of leading predators right to her defenseless litter. It's a clever survival tactic, and it shows just how much these rabbit moms care about the safety of their young. They may not be there all the time, but every move they make is about keeping those babies safe. Now think about how quickly these little bunnies have to grow up. After less than a month, they're left to fend for themselves. That's right, in just a few weeks, these tiny creatures need to be ready to face the world on their own. Talk about tough love. But again, there's a method to this madness. Rabbits breed frequently, and the mother has to prepare for the next litter. By the time her current babies are a month old, she's often already pregnant again. It's a non-stop cycle of life and survival. This rapid maturation is essential for the species. Rabbits are prey animals, and they face numerous threats from predators like foxes, birds of prey, and even domestic pets. The sooner the young rabbits can fend for themselves, the better their chances of survival. Nature has equipped them with the instincts they need to make it on their own. They learn to forage for food, recognize dangers, and find safe places to hide, all within a very short period. The social structure of rabbits is quite fascinating. While they might not stick around their burrow for long, rabbits often form colonies with other rabbits. These colonies provide a network of support and safety. Young rabbits, once independent, can find others to associate with, which helps them learn from each other and increase their chances of survival. They might not have the constant presence of their mother, but they aren't entirely alone. 8. Burying beetles. These little guys are absolutely fascinating creatures, and you won't believe what they get up to in their daily lives. So, let's dive right in and understand why burying beetles are the true champions of the saying, "The squeaky wheel gets the grease." You see, burying beetles have a very unique and somewhat gruesome way of taking care of their young. The larvae of these beetles, that's the baby beetles, live inside a mouse carcass. Now, I know what you're thinking. A mouse carcass, really? Yes, really. This is nature's way, folks. The adult beetles, particularly the mom, find a dead mouse and bury it underground to create a safe, nutrient-rich environment for their babies. It's like a cozy little nursery made out of a mouse. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The mother beetle, she's a real hard worker. She doesn't just leave the babies to fend for themselves. No, she actually feeds them. And how does she do that, you ask? Well, she consumes parts of the dead mouse and then regurgitates the meat to her larvae. It's like nature's version of a pre-chewed baby food, straight from mom. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Unfortunately, there isn't an endless supply of mouse meat to go around. It's not like a buffet where everyone gets what they want. No, there's a limited amount of food, and not all the larvae can be fed at once. This is where the squeaky wheel part comes in. The larvae that make the most noise, the ones that are the most demanding, they get mom's attention first. They get fed because they're the loudest, they're the most persistent. It's like when you were a kid and the loudest sibling got the most attention from mom and dad. Same thing here. But what happens to the quieter, less demanding larvae? Well, here's where it gets a bit dark. The ones that don't make enough noise, the ones that don't get mom's attention, they don't just go hungry. No, it's much worse than that. They actually get eaten by their own mother. I know it sounds harsh, but that's nature for you. It's survival of the fittest, and in this case, survival of the loudest. The mother beetle ensures that the strongest and most demanding of her offspring survive by consuming the weaker ones. It's her way of making sure that the resources are used in the most efficient way possible. So, there you have it, folks. Burying beetles are a perfect example of how nature can be both incredibly nurturing and brutally harsh at the same time. These beetles are doing everything they can to ensure the survival of their species, even if it means making some tough choices. It's a tough world out there, and sometimes you have to be the squeaky wheel to get what you need. Number 9. Skinks. Alright folks, let me tell you about these little critters called skinks. They are a type of lizard, and they've got a pretty interesting, albeit somewhat shocking, parenting strategy when it comes to protecting their eggs. Now, if you're a skink mama, and you find yourself surrounded by a bunch of predators eyeing your clutch of eggs, what do? Some animals might try to fight off the predators or move the eggs to a safer location, but not the skink. Nope, if you're a skink, you take a rather drastic measure. You eat your own eggs. Yes, you heard that right. The skink mother will devour her own eggs to prevent them from becoming a meal for the predators. Now, this might sound a bit extreme and counterintuitive, but let's break it down. In the wild, survival is a tough game, and sometimes it's about making the best out of a bad situation. By eating her own eggs, the skink mother ensures that the nutrients and energy she invested in producing those eggs are not completely lost. Instead, they get reabsorbed into her body, giving her the strength and resources to perhaps try again later when conditions are more favorable. It's a sort of resource recycling strategy, ensuring that her efforts benefit her own future reproductive success rather than just feeding the local predator population. You might think this is some kind of bizarre last resort behavior, but it's actually a fascinating example of how animals have evolved various strategies to cope with the pressures of predation. Skinks, like many reptiles, face a lot of threats in their environment. Birds, snakes, and even other larger lizards wouldn't mind snacking on skink eggs. So, when the odds are stacked against the survival of her offspring, the skink mother takes this drastic step to ensure she has another shot at reproduction. Let's talk a bit about skinks in general. Skinks are part of the Cincidae family, which includes a diverse group of lizards found all over the world, from deserts to forests, and even in some suburban backyards. They are usually small to medium-sized lizards with elongated bodies, smooth scales, and often bright, shiny colors. Some skinks are known for their ability to drop their tails when threatened, a defense mechanism called autotomy, which allows them to escape predators. The tail regrows over time, although it's usually not as perfect as the original. In terms of their diet, skinks are typically insectivores, meaning they primarily feed on insects and other small invertebrates. This diet provides them with the necessary nutrients to thrive and reproduce. But when it comes to their own eggs, it's a different story. The decision to consume their eggs is a calculated one, balancing the risk of losing their offspring to predators against the potential to try again under better circumstances. It's easy to anthropomorphize and judge the skink mother's actions as cruel or unnatural, but in the harsh realities of nature, such behaviors can be vital for survival. This kind of behavior, known as filial cannibalism, is not unique to skinks. It's observed in other animal species as well, including some fish, amphibians, and even birds under certain stressful conditions. So while it might seem weird to us, for the skink mother, it's all about playing the long game in the survival stakes, ensuring that her efforts benefit her species, even if it means making tough choices along the way. Nature, in all its complexity, often requires such remarkable and, at times, unsettling strategies to keep the balance. Thank you for watching.